There's updated casting news from The Wrap on the Superman Legacy film coming from James Gunn in the DC universe, and we're going to talk about it right now on the Sundowners Club. Welcome, I'm your host Sean, my co-host Sterling. So Sterling, we've been talking about Superman, in between doing videos and probably for a while now, almost a year now, and in terms of are they going to reboot Superman? We found out they were going to do that. James Gunn was going to be leading the cause. And now we got a little bit of information. So from a casting standpoint, let's talk about some of these names that The Wrap, we want to credit Humberto Gonzalez and Adam Chitwood from The Wrap. So go check out their article. Some of these names are interesting. So let's dig into it a little bit. So let's talk about Superman first. And again, these are rumored casting names that have leaked out. Some have had meetings and had auditions, full auditions. Some are just names that have been considered that we don't know how far along they are. So consider this a fluid situation, and The Wrap has been pretty specific and direct about that as well. So let's talk about Superman first. So one of the names that's been consistent amongst all the media sources has been an actor named David Corenswet. I knew him from this Netflix series Hollywood, and I didn't particularly like the series, the short-lived series, but I remembered him from that. I thought he was pretty good in it. First impressions, you've seen David Corenswet. Like, what are your first thoughts from a standpoint if he is indeed becomes Superman, if he's the front runner and ends up playing Superman?
Of all the rumored actors, I think he's the only one that has the look. I mean, he could put on some weight, but everything else, he's definitely the best choice.
Does it make you think possibly if it is him, what type of Superman that we've seen in the past that Gunn is going for? Or does he look different from all the other previous?
No,
Supermans?
I mean, I think when you talk about, like, Superman's been so iconic for so long for so many people, but I think what sticks out to me is that 90s era, Jim Lee era, similar to, statue we have up here. That's kind of what I'd go with. I mean, that's kind of what Cavill reminded me of. But I mean, you have, and a lot of people are trying to get someone that looks just like Christopher Reeves, which, I mean, Superman's had a pretty consistent look throughout the years.
Christopher Reeve was the Superman that I grew up with. I like Henry Cavill, big fan of Henry Cavill. Yeah. Cavill was more of like a Daniel Craig, Sean Connery type playing Superman. Stocky and shorter, obviously, than Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve was the tall, slender.
Cavill's still like 6'2", though.
Yeah,
isn't he?
6'1", maybe. Yeah,
I mean, he's not stocky. He's a tall guy. I mean,
yeah, but not as tall as Christopher Reeve. Christopher
Right.
Reeve just looked on screen. He looked like a very tall Superman.
But he was somebody who he was skinny, lankier guy, and then went to the gym to work out.
Yeah, Christopher Reeve had to bulk up actually for the role.
Which David Corenswet. It's a odd name, by the way. But
yeah, people are going to have to get used to that. If he ends up playing Superman,
he would have to do the same thing. But I think as far as like facial structure, the look, he has that look.
He has a classic,
He has a classic Superman look.
Superman.
I think he'd be a good pick from.
He definitely looks the part. And I will say that for those that didn't get a chance to see him in the series Hollywood, he was the one bright spot I thought of the show. I thought he was really good in it. And so I could see him playing that. I want to see a Superman with some longer hair. Well, they haven't ever done that in a Superman movie.
Yeah, I mean, they could.
I mean, I want to see that, and that throws back to the 90s, right? I know what people are going to say. There's going to be a comment, and someone's going to say, are you talking about the mullet? Bringing back the 90s Superman mullet. I know some of the comics, he looked like he had a mullet, but, we want to know what you think as far as the what Superman should look like, what you're expecting Superman to look like. Leave us a comment below, and we want you to subscribe. So please hit that subscribe button so that we can grow our content and grow our channel. And let's talk about some of the other characters. So, there are other people in the mix for Superman. We're going to come back to them in just a minute. But let's talk about Lex for a second. So there's been rumors all over the web, too many sites to count, that may all be tracing back to the same source that have said that Bradley Cooper turned down the role of Lex Luthor. I personally, if he did turn it down, I'm glad. I like Bradley Cooper, but I don't see him as Lex.
No, neither.
I don't think that's a good fit. Maybe he didn't turn it down. Maybe it was just a rumor, but that seems to be all over the web. So the name that has shown up pretty consistently is Nicholas Hoult. And what do you think about? I mean, he was in Renfield. He's been in X-Men.
I don't know if it's not awful. I don't know if I'm crazy about it. It's not one of those, like, some actors get cast and you're like, that's perfect, right? Like, there's, certain, like Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. For fans of Tony Stark, you're like, that's a perfect casting. This isn't like that, but it's not, at the same time, it's not awful either.
It's going to depend on what they do with Lex.
Yeah.
So, one of the rumors that's been out there is that
he can't be worse than Jesse Eisenberg.
No.
I
I definitely like him better than Jesse. And do you have to? You don't have to have Lex without hair or with hair. Like, it doesn't matter. I think you just have to tell a compelling story with a character, right? Lex is.
No, I don't agree. I think you stay authentic. You got to have. He's got the bald. Like, that's his look.
Well, he could wear a wig like Gene Hackman did in Superman.
You got to have that authentic look for me. I mean, Lex is bald. He's got to be bald.
Well, he was bald in the original Superman movie. He just wore a wig and then it came off.
Yeah, I mean, they can make it look good, but
so look, Nicholas Hoult. To me, I'm okay with it. It depends on what they do again with Lex, and is he introduced in this first movie? But the rumors have been that he's not the big bad. He's not the villain in it yet. It's going to be Apex, and when you hear the name Apex, the first thing you think of is from the comics, like Apex Lex, right? So Lex's character, I think, dies, and correct me on that if I'm wrong, and he basically becomes a morph between like the Martian Manhunter and then this omnipotent character that has powers that are almost unstoppable. And so, if they go down that road, that would confuse me if they did an Apex Lex in the first movie, and then you also had the regular Lex. I'm not really sure what's accurate there and what's not, because Apex could just be a code name for a monster or
I'm not familiar with it. Yeah, I think that is a code name because I'm not familiar with it. There's no villain named Apex by himself that I know of.
In the comics, I think it's just the only one I knew of was Apex Lex.
Oh.
So
that's a weird character to start your series.
My gut tells me it's a code name. He doesn't want to give away who the villain is yet.
Yeah,
and so that's
what
my
about,
gut.
There's rumored castings of somebody playing Lobo. That'd be like, he's a Superman villain. That could be a cool.
Well, that's our guy that played Aquaman, Jason Momoa.
I think would be perfect for that.
Maybe that's the rumor.
Maybe
Jason
he
Momoa
is the villain. I don't know. That'd be
well,
awesome.
we're gonna see if he's playing Lobo, then we're gonna see him introduced in one of these films, and this could be as good as one as any to introduce him to. So let's talk about Lois. So Lois Lane, I think it's a difficult character to cast because she's got to be a fiery character, and I think my gut tells me that with some of the names we've heard, we'll talk about Rachel Brosnahan, who I love in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She's a really strong actor, and we've got others like Emma Mackey that was in Sex Education, and then your favorite, Samara Weaving.
Of those three, yeah, for sure.
So you like Samara the best of those three?
Of those three, yeah.
Don't you think it's going to come down to if they pick Superman, they're going to take a very short list of actresses that will play Lois, and they're going to have them screen test because you want to see what the chemistry is.
Yeah.
So whether we think someone might be a better Lois than another actress, I think it's going to come down to doing a screen test with once you've got Superman picked, and what's the chemistry between the two actors?
Right. Yeah,
because that's everything.
Yeah. And
so that makes the movie. If you look at the original Superman movie, that was the movie. The chemistry between Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve. That was it. That made the movie.
Right.
And so, interesting names. I think, one of the things that is going to be fun is, James Gunn is going to bring that style that he's proven works with Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think it's going to be.
Is that going to translate well to a
I don't
Superman
think it's
movie?
going to be the same campiness.
Yeah.
but I think he has a good sense for balancing humor and the lightness with the dark.
So you would need to tone the campiness down for Superman.
Yeah, and I think he will.
Yeah.
I think he's going to bring a Superman that brings back that sense of hope. You know, if you think about the original Superman, the movie poster, and on the poster, I don't know if you ever saw it, it said, "You will believe a man can fly." And it was just that sense of seeing a character fly on screen, which you didn't see in those days. And so I think he's going to bring back that sense of the positivity of Superman.
I watched an interview with him not long ago where he named his 5 favorite superhero movies, and I think the original Superman was his number 1. So, I mean,
of the superhero movies that I've ever seen,
which it's not mine though, because that's a little before my time.
It's my number 1.
Is it?
Yeah, I was
to me, I go back and like it's maybe a generational thing, but like you look at the special effects, it's just like it's so bad.
I'm gonna give a
I
shout
get
out.
why you would love it, but
I'm gonna give a shout out to Rob Burnett. You know, one of the things I loved about Superman the movie was that I saw it in the theater. I saw it on VHS, probably on Betamax before Betamax died out and VHS took over. Saw it on cable, and then when the DVDs came out, they remastered it. I got a copy of it there. And then when the Blu-rays came out, and then you had the Donner cut. So you've had all these iterations of the original Superman movie and Superman 2, and to see it restored when he's in the fields in Kansas in Smallville after his father dies, and he's just standing over the field looking at the horizon. There's some scenes that are just still look great. I think James Gunn, being a fan of that movie, he's going to bring that sense back of how special is it to see Superman on film, and the the kind of excitement and wonder of Superman, and it's these casting. My gut, based on everything I've read and seen, is when you look at David Corenswet, and you guys tell me what you think. Leave a comment and tell me if you agree or disagree. When you look at David Corenswet, it feels like that's Superman.
Well,
like
compare him to the other.
Yeah, so we didn't talk about some of the others that are just laughable to me. Jacob Elordi, that he was in The Kissing Booth, Euphoria. I think he's been rumored for a new Elvis series, which will be horrific.
I've seen him in, so I know him from Euphoria, but which is interesting.
I'm just not a fan. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I haven't enjoyed the things that he's been in.
I think he plays that role really well, but one of the biggest problems I had with that show is I've watched interviews with the cast. And it's like almost all the characters, all the actors play themselves.
Yeah.
So
and you can't listen when you're Superman. That's like Batman. You've got 2 characters to play.
Right.
That is not easy.
I just don't think I couldn't see him as Superman. He didn't even have blue eyes, so you'd have to give him contacts, or you're gonna.
Yeah, and that's gonna look goofy. I don't want. No, yeah. I don't see it. And then you've got another name, Andrew Richardson, who was in A Call to Spy. I think Call to Spy.
It doesn't look anything like Superman.
No, it doesn't look like Superman at all. I think some of these names outside of David Corenswet maybe were just floated, but aren't really deep on the short list. That's just my opinion. I don't have anything to back that up. It's just sheer opinion. But I think that David Corenswet being just put out there into the ether as consistently as he has been in the last couple of days.
He's the only one that's got the look, though.
And I think they're trial running to make sure how do people feel about if he ends up being Superman. So that's what I think is happening is they're putting him out there to see any type of feedback about what people think.
Yeah.
I mean, I know James Gunn's not known for caring. He's like, who cares about what someone thinks on Twitter or YouTube or, so I get that, but I still think
I think he's passionate about the project though. And I think
no doubt,
hopefully he'll try to stay a little more authentic. I think some people act like the look doesn't matter, but
the look is everything when you're playing Superman.
It's on any iconic superhero, it matters.
The look is everything when you're playing Batman.
Yeah,
on any Wolverine.
Any iconic character. You can get away with changing stuff when nobody knows the character.
Right.
But when everybody knows that character and he's iconic and you start trying to do all these dumb, changes, it just doesn't. You're going to lose more fans than you're going to gain. And
my bet's on David Corenswet. I think he's going to be Superman. I'm excited about it. I think he can knock it out of the park. I think.
Well, he's the only one of that casting that I would be like, okay, because the rest are bad to worse, in my opinion. So
they're gonna put him in the gym. Gonna put about 20 pounds of muscle on him.
And if you're an actor, that's It's easy to do.
Easily done. And some of the other names, I'm a big fan of Rachel Brosnahan. I don't know. Again, it's for Lois. It's going to come down to, they're going to pick Superman first, and then they're going to find a Lois that has the chemistry, and I think that's going to come down to the screen test.
I'm not as picky on that. Like, Lois isn't going to make or break the movie to me. Any of those people would be suitable if they do well, and you could end up being a fan of any of them if they have chemistry with the main character. But
we could possibly see another name that hasn't been leaked out there, because I think they're going to do screen tests in June, early June. And so that's what the word is that they haven't narrowed down on Lois yet. They've got some names, and I think Rachel Brosnahan was on The View, and she talked about it would be exciting to play Lois. So clearly she wants to play Lois.
What's interesting about James Gunn, like, it seems like if somebody talks about a rumor or something and it's not true, he
debunks
straight up tell you if it's not true, which I like that.
He did not debunk David Corenswet.
No. Did he debunk any of the other ones, or did he even talk about it?
No.
So, I mean, that tells me that there's some credibility to that, because he will come out,
Yeah, it's exciting to just hear some Superman legacy news, and to know that this thing is moving a little faster than I thought it would be. So I'm excited for it. We wanted to cover it. We're certainly we're going to be, as soon as we can get to a theater in IMAX when Superman Legacy comes out, I'm in. I don't, even if I see a trailer that maybe concerns me, I'm going to see the movie. So
see, I'm
you'll be more hesitant, but I will be there. So, and we're going to cover it. So we may even be doing videos from the theater. So, I'm excited. We wouldn't have a statue of Superman in the middle of our table and our set here if we weren't big fans of Superman and the lore. So let us know what you think. If you got some names of people that you've either read online, speculation, or you've got thoughts about who you think should play Lex, who you think should be the villain in the movie, who you think should play Lois, and what do you think about David Corenswet as potentially Superman? Let us know what you think. Most importantly, hit the subscribe button. We want your support so that we can continue to grow our channel and TCB.